Hey guys, it's Jamie from Joplin for Justice. Today we're going to show you a Meet the Candidates video where some of our local candidates have put together some information about why you should be voting for them on November 3rd. So we're going to hear from Josh Shackles, Rich Finneran, Yinka Folletti, Audrey Richards, Nick Kasoff, and some information from Nicole Galloway. So we really hope that you tune in, pay attention, share the video with your Facebook friends, and it's just going to be a very informative video about all of your candidates that will be on the ballot. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aaron Haley, and I'm your Democratic candidate for Missouri's 163rd House seat. When elected and sent to Jefferson City, I will make it a priority to bring high-quality, high-paying jobs to the 163rd. These jobs will help improve the standard of living of all of our citizens, give us a broader tax base of support, and enable us to do many more things that which we are currently unable to do. Thank you for your support.
I'm Angela Thomas, and I'm running for state representative in District 160. For decades, Republican candidates have run unopposed in District 160. I'm running to offer a choice. We need to work for a stronger economy. We need to work for affordable health care for everyone, a fully funded public school system, infrastructure improvements, and for support for our family farms and ranches. We cannot afford to continue with politics as usual, with legislation that has no support for our district, but legislation that pushes personal preferences above the growth and strengthening of our economy. The Missouri state motto is "The welfare of the people shall be supreme law." Our state government should care more about Missourians than special interests. This is how you love your neighbor.
Hello and welcome, Southwest Missouri. My name is Joshua Shackles. As many of you know, I am running for the office of State Representative in Missouri House District 161. I'm an event planner and community organizer in Joplin, and through my work as an event planner, I've had the opportunity to work with hundreds of local companies, nonprofit organizations, area governments, schools, and others to coordinate, organize, and promote festivals, fundraising events, business expos, and community events in our area. I like to think of myself as a pretty normal person. I'm not rich. I rent my home in Joplin like many others do, and spend as much time as possible volunteering in my community because I love this area and the people in it. I believe in the importance of a priority-based budget and share many of the same values with others in our community. The upcoming Missouri General Assembly will have to prioritize the most important issues impacting Missouri residents, and decisions about how to allocate the budget in the upcoming session will impact schools, healthcare, and jobs. The state of Missouri will face many challenges in the area ahead, and I look forward to being part of the process that will help bring quality jobs to our area and will help put people in our community back to work. As your state representative, I will continue to be committed to our community. Thank you, and I appreciate your support on November 3rd.
Hi, Joplin for Justice. My name is Audrey Richards, and I am running to represent Missouri's 7th District in Congress as an independent write-in candidate. And I am running against Billy Long. So today I'm actually really grateful that I get to speak to you guys and that you've let me be involved in the group, because one of the things that I try to do as a candidate is kind of bring people to the table. We talk about things that people can agree on, and we focus on those problems that affect people in their everyday lives that we can solve at the federal level. And I think this group is kind of, able to do that. We're like, hey, you're identifying issues that need to be solved, and you're like, hey, here's how we want to solve them. This is what we need to do. And I think that so far y'all have identified goals and make incremental change where you can, and I think that's a really good thing to do and a very great place to start. Actually, it's kind of how I started like 15 months ago. We're just like, hey, we're gonna do these little things and build our way up. And so I think you guys have done a similar thing, and that's really great. So again, just bringing people to the table. I think that's the most important thing that we can do right now, because people are so divided based on party, and we want to unite them based on priorities. So I guess my one thing that I really want to get across is that I love being in this group because I love getting to see all of these different perspectives, and you guys identify issues that I'm not necessarily familiar with because I don't live in Jasper or Newton counties. So it's a different place, but somewhere I still want to represent, and that's very important to me. Like, I understand what life is like for you guys there and the problems that you face, because it's way different from what I see in Stone and Taney County. And so, and in all of my trips up to Joplin, y'all have been really great and nice, and I've gotten so much support, and I'm so grateful for that. Sorry, it's like really cold out here, and so, yeah, but I just, so again, thank you so much for this opportunity, and I suppose the one thing that I really hope I get across is what I just said. So, yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. I'll just go ahead and say that my 3 main priorities are increased funding for education, because no kid should they should be able to learn regardless of their learning ability or where they live. And number 2, we're talking about infrastructure. Our roads and bridges are kind of garbage. We need to fix them. And also, we want to get everyone access to the internet. And then number 3, getting big money out of politics. Because right now, politicians are primarily funded, especially Billy Long. We're talking to the tune of 96% funded by dark money and high dollar donations and PAC money. So, like, that's where 96% of his money comes from. 0% of my money comes from high dollar donations, PACs, dark money, none of that. My money comes from my 401k and small dollar donations, which is donations under $500. Our average donation covers somewhere about $25. So that's really awesome, and I'm grateful. But that really just goes to show, like, hey, we're out here in Audrey. We can't give you very much, but we're gonna give you what we can because we believe in you. And I think that goes both ways, because I believe in you guys. Right? Like, I am so determined to give us the representation that we deserve, and that starts with somebody who's going to listen to everybody. And there's only one candidate in this race who's going to do that, and it's me. And I think I've proven that throughout this campaign, and so I would be really honored to have your vote. So go ahead, if you want more information, more specific policy platforms and priorities, they're available on my website, www.audrey4missouri.com. Also, I'm here on Facebook. We've also got a Twitter and an Instagram and a YouTube. So if you're on social media, we've got everything basically but a TikTok. So I'm really excited again about this race. We got 1 week to go as of today, and so I'm really excited. Thank you so much. So if you show up on November 3rd, make a plan, mask up, go vote, and hopefully vote for me, Audrey Richards. Write my name in on that 4th line on your ballot for U.S. Representative, District 7. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for letting me be part of your group. And I'm really excited. We're going to make waves. We're going to make a lot of people surprised on November 3rd. And I hope that you will help be a part of that. And yeah, so I hope to see you guys on Tuesday. All right, bye.
Hello, my name is Nick Kassoff, and I'm the Libertarian candidate for state treasurer. Greetings to you, my friends at Joplin for Justice. I want to give you a couple of reasons this morning why you ought to vote for me in the election next week. First of all, a little bit about myself. I'm a resident of Ferguson, Missouri, and I've been very active in the issues that are important to you guys up here in Ferguson. If you look at my Facebook timeline, starting in August of 2014, you're going to see a lot of photographs and a lot of live streams from events that I was at. And as you know, Ferguson and the surrounding area has had a lot of those over the past few years. It's been an area where a lot of work needed to be done. We've accomplished something, and we have a long ways to go. But again, I'm sure that you of all people are familiar with that. One of the accomplishments here that I'm most proud of was the passing in Ferguson of the tightest body camera regulations in the country. We had a committee of which I was the chairman, which drafted and did a ballot initiative for this body camera law, and it was passed by a solid majority of Ferguson residents during the time when people in Ferguson didn't agree on much of anything. So that was a big accomplishment, and we're delighted that we were able to play a part in that. Unfortunately, the city hasn't exactly followed the law, and making them do that is an expensive legal task, but one thing at a time. But bottom line deal, the issues that have drawn you to Joplin for justice are ones that I've been involved with for a long time. Now, state treasurer is a place where you don't have a lot of policy decisions. Obviously, equity and justice would be important to me anywhere that I go. And as a libertarian, I'm not the party that's in charge, and so the money in our state treasury would be watched over by somebody who isn't part of the current system. I think that's a good thing as well. Finally, as somebody who doesn't believe that the current two-party system has served us very well, I'm a big supporter of third parties in general, and as you may know, in order for a third party to retain their ballot status, they have to get 2% in an election, and that's what enables them to run candidates in future elections. I believe that when we have more choices, our political system is better, and so by voting for me, you can help the Libertarian Party stay on the ballot in the future. So, if you want a candidate who supports the issues that are important to you and who wants to break the two-party system down to give us better choices in the future, I hope you'll vote for me. Nick Kassoff, Libertarian for State Treasurer.
Hello, Joplin for Justice, and thank you for giving me the time to speak with you all tonight. I'm sorry I'm not able to be with you in person, but very grateful for the opportunity to speak with you about the important issues in this race. As some of you I'm sure know, because I was out there seeing some of you back when we were in pre-pandemic times. My name is Rich Finneran, and I am the Democratic nominee for Missouri Attorney General. And as you probably know, we have a lot of important issues in this race, and many of them are similar and part of the issues that you all are so focused on as part of this organization. Criminal justice reform is an issue that I've been fighting for my entire career, ever since I became a federal prosecutor many years ago. But it's something that finally is starting to break through in the national consciousness, and I think people are starting to understand the need to fix our broken system. As we've seen for way too long, simply putting more and more people in jail is not doing anything to make us safer, and it's certainly not doing anything to increase the justice, the fairness, or the equity in our system. Our current Attorney General, Eric Schmidt, is one of the worst examples of the problems and the failings of our current justice system here in this country. Right now, as we're sitting here, he is fighting a lawsuit to try to keep an innocent man in jail. And of course, I'm speaking about the case of Lamar Johnson, an individual who was convicted more than 25 years ago of a crime that we now know he did not commit, to which other people have confessed, and in which case we know that his trial included evidence that was introduced in violation of his constitutional rights, evidence that the prosecution had been paying off the informants in the case without disclosing that to the defense. This is the sort of thing that as a prosecutor, it is your ethical duty to try to correct. And when I was a federal prosecutor, if we ever found out that there was an issue in one of our cases where we had made a mistake, we took it upon ourselves to correct it, because that's what the job of a prosecutor is, not simply to secure convictions, but to do justice. That's exactly what our circuit attorney in St. Louis did. Once she found out about this issue and her office investigated it, she was one of the people who came forward to ask the court to set aside this conviction and allow this innocent man to go free. But despite the prosecutor's best efforts, my opponent Eric Schmidt stepped into the case and is fighting to keep Lamar Johnson still in prison. He's doing it on the basis of a technicality, saying that Lamar Johnson should have filed his lawsuit just a few days after his conviction 25 years ago, rather than once the evidence was actually discovered so many years later. He might be right as a matter of the technicalities, but he's wrong as a matter of justice. And that's why we need people in a position of authority as prosecutors and as our Attorney General who are going to be willing to do what's right, not just what they think is politically expedient. And that's one reason I'm so dedicated to staying in this race and taking on Eric Schmidt in just a few short days. You know, every year the Attorney General is required by law to put out a report detailing the racial profile of all the people who are pulled over in the state of Missouri. And every year it shows the same thing. It shows that people of color are more likely to be pulled over by police officers and that they are less likely to be in possession of contraband. What that tells us is not only is our system unfair, it's also ineffective. If we're spending our time policing communities of color more than we're policing other communities, and in fact members of that community are less likely to be in possession of contraband than other individuals, it means we're not using our resources appropriately to try to improve public safety. Because he's required to by law, Eric Schmidt does put that report out every year. And every year it says that same thing. And every year Eric Schmidt puts it in a drawer and doesn't do anything about it. Well, that's not how I intend to operate as Attorney General. I intend to dig into that report. I intend to dig into the data. And I intend to reach out to the different jurisdictions where we are seeing problems and identify those issues, work with local law enforcement to try to correct them so that we can increase public safety and increase fairness all at the same time. Criminal justice is just one of the many important issues that I have in my race. I'm sure you've all heard about Eric Schmidt's lawsuit against the Affordable Care Act, which if he prevails is going to have a disproportionate effect on people of color across the state and is especially going to damage families who are depending upon Medicare, Medicaid, and upon the ACA in order to get their health care. It means that people who are under the age of 26 won't necessarily be able to stay on their parents' insurance. It means that prescription drug costs can go up for seniors who are on Medicare. And after the vote we all just took to expand Medicaid, it would wind the clock back and eliminate Medicaid not just here in Missouri, but all across the state. Medicaid expansion would go back to what it was like before 2009, when the Affordable Care Act was put through Congress. It also, and perhaps most importantly, would mean that millions of people across the state of Missouri would lose protections for pre-existing conditions. Eric Schmidt is not on the side of working families, and he's not on the side of doing justice in our state. He's more interested in getting in fights with local prosecutors about who should be able to charge cases than he is in actually improving public safety and actually improving equity in our system. So I think it's time for a change. And that's why I'm running to be your next Attorney General. I spent my career as a federal prosecutor trying to keep politics out of my office. It was against the rules for us to let politics influence the way we made our decisions. Instead, we're supposed to look at the law and the facts and apply them fairly and impartially. That's what I intend to do as Attorney General. And every time that I make a decision in the Attorney General's office, I'm going to ask myself, what are we doing to protect the people of the state of Missouri? And if I can't answer that question coherently, then I'm not going to pursue the lawsuit. I think that'll keep me out of lawsuits like this Affordable Care Act lawsuit. I think it'll keep me out of lawsuits against the government of China over the pandemic that have no chance of recovering a single dollar from Missouri taxpayers. And I hope it will get the integrity of the office back to where it should be, so we can focus on what's important, and that's protecting the people of our state. I want to thank you for all the work that you're doing. We just have a few more short days. I hope that you'll stick with us, and I hope that once I'm elected, you'll stick with me as well, so that we can start bringing some justice and equity back to the state of Missouri. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great night.
If you don't speak English and don't contribute, get out.
Ignorance and immigrants, they mix together.
They're talking about me. For some reason, I'm the person they don't want, but they don't even know my story. I stepped off that plane at JFK when I was 7 years old and began my American journey. Our family moved to where the jobs were. So growing up, we moved a lot, finally settling in Texas. I was fortunate to attend the Texas Academy of Math and Science before being accepted to the United States Military Academy at West Point. What happened that day is something I'll never forget. A building full of other candidates, all waiting to interview with Congressman Joe Barton, and they chose me. As an immigrant kid who'd become a U.S. citizen, I was headed to West Point. I was so excited, but nothing was handed to me. I earned this. We deployed to Kuwait, 2 tours. First, to keep Saddam Hussein in check. The second was after 9/11, when I served as battle captain in our battalion headquarters. I've never been more proud to serve my country. Law school brought me to Missouri. I practiced first in private practice and then as a state prosecutor. It was gratifying work, but I knew that if I wanted to help even more people, I had to get further upstream. United Way and Forward Through Ferguson were next, where I led teams that ran towards some of the most pressing problems families are facing. And now, I'm running for Secretary of State of Missouri. We're better than that crowd of hate and vitriol. We ought to be expanding voting opportunities, not limiting them. and we ought to be protecting the ballot initiative petition process as it's one of the best in the country. I am ready. I don't back down from challenges, and I won't let that crowd get me down. Join me in this campaign, because together we can do great things for Missouri. Hi, my name is Yinka Falati. I'm the Democratic nominee running for voter inclusion and working against Jay Ashcroft's voter suppression. I'm the Democratic nominee for Missouri Secretary of State. I'm running so that every eligible Missourian, no matter their political persuasion, can vote without unnecessary barriers, without having to jump through hoops to vote, without all of the unnecessary confusion and complexity around voting, and without needing a flowchart to vote in Missouri. I also want to ensure that we have fair language for and fair access to the ballot initiative process. This is the process that has given us Medicaid expansion, clean Missouri, beat back right to work, raise the minimum wage, and more. There's so much we can do to make voting easier and more accessible for all eligible Missourians, including automatic voter registration for our rising 18-year-olds, no excuse absentee voting to allow for increased early and advanced voting, vote by mail, free from a notary mandate, increased number of polling places, the ability to vote at any polling place, not just the one assigned, and universal registration in Missouri. You register once in Missouri and you're registered always in Missouri, no matter how many times you move within the state. And finally, robust voter education and assistance. I ask for your vote this November, and if you're able to, I ask for your vote earlier by vote by mail, and if you're able to, an absentee voting. Please check your registration now and make sure you're registered, and check on 10 of your friends and ask them to do the same. Let's get rid of Jay Ashcroft and his voter suppressive ways. Let's create the Missouri we deserve, the Missouri we want to see. Thank you.
You know, it is such an honor to be here. I've been traveling all across the state these past few days, and will continue to travel over the next 15 days because this election is so important and every vote matters. Your vote, your voice absolutely matters. And when I launched this campaign for governor a year ago, I never could have imagined the crisis that we would be facing in 2020. But I knew then that Missouri's working families needed a change, and I am even more certain of it now. The most important thing the next governor will have to do is contain the spread of this virus and rebuild Missouri's economy. The question is, will we rebuild in a way that helps working people get back on their feet? Or will we continue to ignore science and distract and rebuild only for well-connected special interests? I am running for governor to put Jefferson City back on the side of working families.